Thank you very much, Mr. Minister.
Secretary of State Gainey, Secretary of State Wayne Long, my colleagues Yasser Naqvi, Greg Fergus, Mr. Mayor, friends, it's a great morning. It's always great to be in Nepean.
And first, I would like to thank the Minto Recreational Complex key team that invited us here today, and thank you for all that you do to educate and teach and grow our children. This is where they learn to become ambitious and curious and hardworking adults.
Before the Thanksgiving weekend. And as we were talking a moment ago, it's a time to reflect on the good fortune we have in our lives, the gratitude we feel for our family and loved ones, for our communities, and for our country. It's a time to reflect on what makes Canada great. And these reflections are especially striking, especially poignant right now, after a year in which Canadians have faced an increasingly dangerous and divided world, and the shock of a trade war that's causing big economic uncertainty. You know, these aren't just changes, they're not just a transition, it's a rupture. And Canadians have taken three big lessons from this upheaval. And the first is that we have to look out for ourselves. And that's why Canada's new government is focused on protecting our communities, protecting our borders, protecting our country, and protecting our way of life. And that's from more RCMP and border security officers to new legislation that combats hate, tightens the criminal code, and toughens conditions on bail. Now, the second lesson I think we've taken over the past year, Canadians have learned that we have to focus on what we can control. In a rapidly changing world, that means building our strength here at home. And that's why Canada's new government is moving swiftly with measures to build one Canadian economy, millions of more homes, and major projects that will connect and transform our nation. Because we know, as Canadians, we can give ourselves far more than any foreign government can ever take away. And the third lesson that we've learned is that we have to take care of each other. That's why the government is working to empower Canadians by creating new opportunities, including hundreds of thousands of new high-paying careers, by ensuring workers can get the skills that they need to succeed, and by making new technologies work for you. Et surtout,
and especially, or most of all, we give Canadians the means to act by helping them move forward by reducing the cost of living. When you can keep a bigger part of your paycheck, you can take care of your family like you want to and how you dream of. You can participate more in your community life and especially build the future you want. The future you want for all who will be sitting around your table on this Thanksgiving weekend.
In a few weeks, on November 4th, the Minister of Finance will table our first federal budget. And this is our economic plan to meet this hinge moment in Canada's history. It's our plan for change, our plan to build Canada strong. The budget will set out what we will build. We'll also set out how we will build. In the budget, we'll have to make responsible and pragmatic choices. As the Minister just said, we will spend less on government operations and reduce waste, so Canadians can invest more in their businesses, more in their fellow workers, more in nation-building projects and infrastructure that will build a brighter future for all. We will also take pragmatic decisions so we can protect the programs and initiatives that support the most vulnerable in our society. We'll take decisions that reinforce the programs that help bring down costs for hard-working Canadian families. And we will build programs that help all Canadians get ahead. Bringing down costs so that Canadians can get ahead, that's what we've been relentlessly focused on since being elected just a few months ago. On day one, we canceled the divisive consumer carbon tax, bringing down gas prices by 18 cents per litre. We then cut taxes for 22 million middle-class Canadians, saving two-income families up to $840 a year. We
reduced income tax in order to reduce to help people buy new houses so that people can save up to $50,000 for the acquisition of a home for them and their families.
On all vehicles on the Confederation Bridge from $50 to $20 and fares by 50% on ferries in Atlantic Canada, leading to a 25% increase in usage in the first 2 months alone.
We also took measures to reduce the costs for Internet. The decision to support the CRTC project to broaden the mandatory market in our telecommunications sector was made for a single reason: to reduce high-speed Internet costs for Canadians. For you. We have also launched the program Homes Canada to contribute to the doubling of building homes over the next 10 years.
We will create enormous opportunities for Canadians. And by lowering your costs, from taxes to broadband to new homes, we're helping you to keep more of your money so that you and your families can get ahead. And in that spirit, I'm announcing 3 new measures that will be in Budget 2025. First, we are launching automatic federal benefits to help our most vulnerable get the money that they're entitled to. Secondly, we're making the National School Food Program permanent to help ensure that all kids have the nutrition they need at school. And thirdly, we're going to have some fun. We're renewing the Canada Strong Pass so that more Canadians can experience the best that our great country has to offer. So I just want to say a few words before taking your questions about each of these. To start, we're going to launch what we're calling automatic federal benefits for more than 5.5 million low-income Canadians. See, the situation is that millions of lower-income Canadians don't file their taxes, either because they don't have the resources to do so or because they think that their income is too low for it to matter. And that means, too often, that the people who most need benefits often don't get them. Could mean missing out on the GST, HST tax credit, the Canada Child Benefit, the Canada Workers Benefit, the Canada Disability Benefit, and the Disability Tax Credit. The people
who are eligible for the disability credit and Canadian payments for disability will receive $3,000 thanks to the new automatic federal benefit.
A single parent with 2 young children who earns $15,000 from a part-time job is eligible for substantial federal and provincial benefits. And using this new system, the CRA's new automated and free process, they'll need to just provide a few details, confirm their information on a pre-filled out tax form from the CRA. And then they will receive all the benefits to which they're entitled. In the case of the example I just gave, that's more than $25,000 for their family. Canada's new government will start pre-filing tax returns in the 2026 tax year, scaling up to that 5.5 million number of low-income Canadians by the 2028 tax year. This program will pay out hundreds of millions of dollars in benefits in the next few years that would otherwise be left unclaimed, helping our most vulnerable get the supports that they need. The second initiative to bring down costs is to make the National School Food Program permanent. This is Canada. No child should go to school hungry or sit in a classroom all day wondering where their next meal will come from. All our children should be focused on learning. Since it launched this past year, the National School Food Program has provided healthy meals to over 400,000 children across this country. It's saving parents with 2 children about $800 a year on groceries. Until today, this program was a pilot. It was temporary, with only 3 years of funding remaining. But the challenges that it addresses are essential. They're fundamental. So today we're announcing we'll move forward with the funding and legislation to make it permanent. Canada's new government will keep working with the provinces, the territories, and Indigenous partners to expand this program across Canada so even more kids can benefit. And thirdly, as I said at the start, we're renewing the Canada Strong Pass for 2026. Canada has stunning national parks, fascinating historic sites, pardon me, I'm choked up, world-class museums, renowned galleries. We created the Canada Strong Pass so that Canadians can see more of our great country for less money. The pass provided this summer Canadians with free entry to our national parks and historic sites and discounted or free tickets to our national galleries and museums so that Canadians could be inspired by the best of Canadian nature, Canadian creativity, and Canadian history. The Canada Strong Pass also gave families free or discounted Via Rail tickets, letting more of them travel together to experience Canada's stunning landscapes and destinations and to be with each other. It was a big hit. Canadians spent the summer using the pass to see more of our country's best for less. The pass boosted Via Rail ridership by 13%. Visitors to our parks, our museums, historic sites were up an average of 15%. Since Canadian families love the Canada Strong Pass, and since no one can possibly experience all that Canada has to offer in just a few short months, we're renewing it for the summer of 2026. And we're also launching it for this holiday season starting in mid-December, giving Canadians the opportunity to take advantage of the discounts that the pass offers at what is an expensive time of year. Nous vivons dans un pays magnifique.
We live in a magnificent country, and Canadians want to see more of it. We are, therefore, renewing the Strong Canada Pass so that next year you can go rock climbing in Banff National Park and admire the group of 7 at the National Art Gallery here in Ottawa. And we are going to put it back in place for this holiday period so that while your children are off school for 2 weeks, you can go out of the house and visit our museums and galleries, or maybe save a bit more by taking the train to visit your loved ones.
You know, the trade war has revealed the limits to our economic independence, limits that we must tackle head on, and we are and we will. And yes, in Canada, we have our challenges, we have our differences, some of which may even come up at the dinner table over Thanksgiving. But the events of this past year have reminded us that Canada is the greatest country on earth. And they have revealed a nation that's more united, generous, innovative, and ambitious, and a country that's ready to build what's right. Together, we'll make Canada even better. Pour le faire, nous devrons prendre des décisions.
To do this, we'll have to make important decisions and make responsible choices to protect our communities and do big things together, and to give us mutually the ways to act, because
ce que font les autres nations.
We can't control what the other countries
we can
do.
Control what we choose to build. And we choose to build Canada strong for all Canadians. Vive le Canada and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Merci, Monsieur le Premier ministre. Nous allons maintenant commencer la période de questions.
We'll now start questions.
We'll do about 15 minutes of question. 15 minutes de questions. First question, Kate.
Hi, Prime Minister. Kate McKenna with CBC News. I'm just wondering if you or anyone in your government has had conversations with a private proponent about building Keystone XL.
I or someone in my government has had conversations with a variety of proponents and operators and developers of various energy projects across this country, so actual or prospective, including that project, but as well many others. I have not personally had direct conversations about that project.
Do you want to do a follow-up?
Yeah.
It's Thanksgiving. We're in a giving mood today. So yes, a follow-up, please.
These announcements, these additional announcements that you're making today, would they count as operational expenses or capital expenses?
These would be, all three of these are operational expenses. And this is a crucial point. So let me take the example of making the Canada School Food Program permanent. As I said in my remarks, and Secretary of State Gainey and her colleagues confirmed, this is an essential program. We recognize that there are children going to school hungry, more than 400,000 using the program already. That's not going to change overnight. And it's an essential service, so it's something that it's an ongoing service that's provided. The benefits that we are protecting, the Canada Child Benefit, the disability benefit, the other benefits, we're going to make the responsible, pragmatic choices as a government led by the Minister of Finance in this budget to ensure that we have those programs, not just today, but for tomorrow and for the future. We want to make sure with the first initiative, the automatic benefits filing, to make sure that everyone who deserves to receive those benefits receives those benefits. Again, that's an operational expense. It's a mechanical thing. It's a technical thing. It does cost some money. But most importantly, what it costs is making sure the benefits go to the people that deserve. So all of these announcements in the Canada Strong Pass as well are operational expenditures. Thank you.
Prochaine question.
Bonjour, Valérie Gamage de Radio-Canada.
Radio-Canada.
Je veux revenir sur Keystone XL.
I'd like to go back to Keystone XL.
Vous avez senti auprès du président que ça peut
When did you
une voie de
feel
passage, quelque
with the
chose
president that this might be a pathway that might interest him, that you might develop something through negotiation?
Il n'y avait pas nécessairement
There was not necessarily a specific point where
le président Trump et moi,
President Trump and I
beaucoup de conversations en ce qui
have a lot of talks with regarding opportunities for cooperation and competition between Canada and the U.S., and we're looking for situations where the integration of our economy will be better for both of us. So we have opportunities in the energy sector. There are many possible projects, including Keystone XL, but there are others. There are others. And now our teams are in conversations, intense negotiations with regard to a few projects, and
les niveaux tarifaires.
The tariff levels in steel and aluminum sectors, and there will be at the same time discussions with the lumber and automotive sectors.
The question, it wasn't a specific, I can't recall a specific time where a specific project came up, because we have been, the President and myself have been in conversations over time about where there are opportunities for cooperation and where there are cases where there will be competition between our two economies. We're bearing down on a few projects within the energy sector, intensive negotiations that are in train right now for the sectors of steel and aluminum, and in parallel conversations on forest products and automobiles and others. Merci.
Et puis, je veux revenir sur le bois
I'll come
d'œuvre et
back
ces nouveaux tarifs là, qui entrent
to
en
the
vigueur dans
lumber
quelques jours.
with the
Est-ce
new
que
tariffs
c'est
coming in a
inévitable?
few
Est-ce que c'est un
days.
secteur où
Is it
vraiment
inevitable? Is
ça
this
accroche et
sector,
on n'arrive pas à s'entendre?
is that where you get stuck
Pas
in your
nécessairement,
talks?
mais c'est une situation difficile.
Not necessarily,
Il y
but
avait
it's
des,
difficult.
des initiatives américaines.
There were
en ce qui
American
concerne
initiatives
depuis longtemps.
with softwood lumber for a long time
Il y avait
now.
plusieurs processus de.
There were
de
many
132,
processes.
c'est le processus américain.
American processes.
Selon nous, c'est injustifié.
We
Et
think
il y a
it's
des,
unjustified,
des processus dans les
and
cours
there are
américains qui
procedures in the U.S. courts. It's better to have a negotiated agreement, not necessarily to rely on court decisions, because that takes time and we need to work. So we are continuing discussions, first point. Second point,
Nous fournissons
we are supplying
soutien pour le secteur de bois d'œuvre, y compris
support for softwood lumber,
la liquidité de le ministère des Finances
liquidity,
et, l'entraînement pour les ouvriers.
and training for the workers.
Next question, Chris.
Morning, Prime Minister. Christopher Nardi from the National Post. So, as you know, C2 remains in Parliament. And as you also surely know, the bill contains all these sweeping lawful access powers for intelligence agencies and police. Now, I'm curious, are you comfortable with the notion that police or intelligence can go to any service provider? It can be doctors, counselors, child therapists, pharmacists, and obtain information about if someone is a client, since when, where they obtain those services without a warrant?
The two things. One is the bill has been divided into C2 and C12. What you just referred to were issues in C12. So we're talking about the same. No, it's divided into C2 and C12. There are two processes. And Parliament will work through, including through the committee stage, and ultimately through a vote. What we have a responsibility as parliamentarians, as the government, is to protect our communities and protect our borders. And where there is, where it is merited, and there is probable cause, plausible expectation, potential illegal trafficking of, for example, and this is a case, unfortunately, in our society, of precursors and components of fentanyl, which kills thousands of Canadians every year, even though, despite the efforts, kills thousands of Canadians every year, and is shipped through Canada Post when it's operating. There is merit, in the view of law enforcement, and in the view of being consistent with charter rights, that there is an ability to take those measures to save lives in our community. Now, this is legislation. This is Parliament operating as it should. Legislation's being debated. It's being adjusted. The split in the bill allows certain elements to proceed at a certain pace and others to be interrogated.
And what lessons have you taken from the fact that the first bill that your government ever tabled already had to be watered down and retabled?
I take the following lessons from the legislative record of this government. This is a government that cut taxes on day one. This is a government that passed the most comprehensive and what will be seen in the fullness of time impactful economic measure in decades, which is the One Canadian Economy Act. This is a government that's moving through legislation at a minority parliament at pace and with breadth, in working constructively with other parties in that minority parliament. So I'll give you two examples. The One Canadian Economy Act had bipartisan support. The split that you're asking about of the process for Bill C2, now C2 and C12, is a result of discussions with opposition parties in Parliament, work at the committee stage. This is Parliament working as it should, and this is what Canadians expect, that the government and all members of Parliament are working on behalf of Canadians to move things forward.
Next question, Rachel.
Good morning, Rachel Aiello, CTV News. Do you believe that Canada should have another pipeline to the West Coast?
We believe, this government believes in nation-building projects, which can, in both clean and conventional energy. Those projects have several characteristics. Material economic benefits, linking together different parts of our economy, consistency with our climate objectives, and benefits and participation for Indigenous peoples. So those elements coming together can come together in a pipeline to the West Coast. It depends on the specific proposal, depends on all of those elements. And this government will engage with proposals that that have a possibility or prospect of achieving those.
And to your point on climate commitments, are you at all considering repealing either the tanker ban or the emissions cap, yes or no?
It depends, Rachel, and it does, because this is not, in order to satisfy all those conditions, it depends on what's done. What this government is interested in is in results, not objectives. We want to see results. We want to see lower carbon conventional energy, lower carbon mining, lower carbon manufacturing, because that is going to be a driver of competitiveness. It is also going to help us achieve our climate commitments, but most fundamentally, it's going to make our businesses more competitive. And with respect to conventional energy projects, including pipelines, it is absolutely clear. All our discussions with proponents, all our discussions with the province of Alberta, for example, include material carbon capture and storage alongside conventional energy projects. These are very constructive discussions. They're very focused on outcomes, as I say, both from the province of Alberta, Premier Smith herself, myself and our government, and we're working to move that forward at pace.
Next question.
Mr. Carney, on the possibility of abolishing that, it's the results. The results. And the results in this context is reducing greenhouse gas emissions. In the context
dans le contexte d'un projet de l'énergie
of an energy, a conventional energy project in the industrial sector, in all sectors of the economy, because reducing carbon is one aspect of competitivity in our activities.
Prime Minister Kyle Duggan from the Canadian Press. You have recently announced a new defense investment agency and appointed a new CEO to it, and have also appointed a CEO to the new Major Projects Office. Their salaries are significantly higher than yours or your fellow cabinet ministers. So at a time when you're trying to pare back on public sector operational spending, how do you justify private sector CEO pay?
These are, in the case of the specific individuals, I think you'll find that their pay when they were private sector CEOs was substantially higher than the pay ranges that they have. So first point, full stop. Secondly, their pay is also consistent with the band of what's called within the public service, Crown Corporation CEO 8 level band. So that's consistent with that band. There are other CEOs in Crown corporations who receive pay within those bands. And the responsibilities of these individuals are enormous. The Defense Investment Agency, we are addressing procurement decisions, investment decisions measured in the tens of billions of dollars. Getting those decisions right, both in terms of meeting our defense needs as a country, protecting our country and our communities, but also growing our industry, growing good jobs for Canadians. And we're in, as the mayor knows, as Yasser knows, I know, we're in the Greg knows, in the Ottawa region, in the Outaouais. One of the opportunities we have here is to grow our defense and defense-related industries on orders of magnitude. Now, that takes cooperation with the city, including the city of Gatineau, with cooperation with the province. It takes an investment agency and leadership of the investment agency that understands how to make that happen. The questions that Rachel and colleagues were asking about on pipelines, Don Farrell, who's the CEO of the Major Project Office, has to run processes and help develop projects, pipelines alongside carbon capture, alongside offshore wind, new ports, and other development in a way that is going to make them happen in a fast manner, creating, again, tens and tens of billions of dollars of economic activity for this country. We got to get this right. We need the best people, and I salute both those individuals and others who are stepping up for our country.
Thank you. And with respect to the announcement today, the CRA is under significant strain. How will you ensure that the department can roll out this program efficiently?
Well, thanks for that second question, because part of it is about leadership. And I want to commend Secretary of State Long and the Minister of Finance for the leadership that they've been showing with respect to the CRA. It's associated responsibility of both of them. And one of the ways you lead is you set clear objectives and timetables, and the focus in terms of on-time delivery of the CRA, the percentages there. I'll let them report in due course the progress that's been made. But that's the kind of attitude and management and focus we're bringing to government, and we're starting to see that with CRA. And yes, we need it. Your challenge is the right one. Thank you.
Next question, David.
David Aiken, Global News. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Morning.
Back to the Oval. In the Oval, President Trump was...
We're a long way from the Oval.
Yes,
we're a long way from the Oval right now.
And I'll bring it back to Canada in a second. But in the Oval, President Trump was asked, are we going to have a three-way North American free trade deal through the negotiation, or some bilateral deals? And his response was along the lines of, I don't care, maybe both. He wants the best deal for America. Then, I think this week, you had that conversation with Jerry Butts, and you said something along the lines, it seems apparent the USMCA will emerge with some bilateral deals.
Yeah.
I wonder if you can give us a little more color on that, sectoral deals, something coming out of USMCA, going into these two-way deals. To expand on that.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's hard to give a very narrow answer to it because it is a process. But the essence of your question is right, at least from what we see. It's consistent with what the President said in the Oval Office, and it's also consistent with what's happening right now. So, for example, and I'll repeat this, 85% of our trade with the United States is tariff-free. It is tariff-free because of discussions with the Americans, decision of the Americans signed in the Oval Office July 31st by the President, but that allows CUSMA compliant, USMCA compliant in their language, trade to be tariff-free with the exception of certain sectors. Okay, so that's reliant on USMCA. And of course, one of the questions and one of the possibilities, prospects, is that continues under a revised USMCA, if it isn't revised. That's possible. So you need that USMCA framework to have that component. But what's also very clear is that there are certain sectors, steel, aluminum, autos, forest products, pharmaceuticals, where the Americans have decided are strategic, and they have trade actions against everybody in the world. And we are negotiating specific sectoral deals with them, which would likely persist with a revised USMCA, okay? Because their 232 actions to use that with the rest of the world will persist. So already there in real time we see the combination of the two. The President's expressed his preference. It seems that is likely, and it means that this is not one simple, as if any trade deal is simple, but one simple trade deal which will resolve all the issues. And that's why we're focused on retaining the huge advantage that we have relative to the rest of the world through USMCA, that 85%, the lowest tariff of any country, and working hard on these sectors where we're looking for things that other countries have not received, to be clear. And that's why the negotiations are, as the President said, the negotiations are tough, but we've come a long way in the last year. And both of those are quotes.
Thank you.
We'll do one last question. Dernière question.
Good morning, Prime Minister. My name is Tawfiq Ali from TRT, Turkish radio and television. I have some questions about Middle East situations regarding what's going on in Gaza, especially following the Gaza ceasefire just hours ago. As you know, and U.S. peace plan, how does Canada view the situation right now? And what role has it played in this initiative? Second question is, after recognizing of the state of Palestine, what steps is Canada taking toward the Palestinian general delegation in Ottawa? And last one is, could you please clarify Canada's current position regarding arms exports and imports from Israel?
Okay. With respect to your last question, we've had an export ban on arms to Israel for a year. It began before I became Prime Minister, and it remains in force. With respect to, I'm going to go in reverse order. With respect to Palestine, the state of Palestine, we're in direct contact. Our contacts with the Palestinian Authority are directly with respect to President Abbas, the foreign minister, and the focus is on their roadmap to implement the reforms that were predicates for our recognition. And we are coordinating that work with other powers vis-a-vis the Palestinian Authority so that there is both resources but also pressure to ensure that those reforms are put in place. Elements of normalization, other things, including with the delegation here, are dependent on progress made by the Palestinian Authority, okay, to be clear. Now, with respect to role in the President Trump's 20-point plan, we are doing several things. The first, and actually, let me, since you're from Turkish News, may I commend the leadership of President Erdogan throughout this conflict and through specifically that peace process. Turkey has played, as you know, an important role in this alongside Egypt and Qatar and other regional powers to making this come. I've been in direct contact with two of the architects of this specific plan, Jared Kushner and Tony Blair, rather, to complement their efforts in conversations with other powers, other interested parties. In this, not all. Obviously, we don't speak to Hamas or any of those authorities, but other regional parties, number one. Number two, coordinating in terms of potential complementary roles of the United Nations. Number three, in terms of potential humanitarian aid. And I would remind that Canada has provided or pre-positioned, we provided some. It's been difficult to provide actual humanitarian, but pre-positioned $400 million worth of humanitarian aid for Gaza and are ready to do more. But coordinated through this process, and we have seen from the start, and again, I'll finish by commending President Trump for his initiative, a decisive initiative. We've seen from the start that this has been the best chance for peace. We're pleased that phase one has been agreed and is beginning to move forward. We'll do everything that we can to support that. Thank you very much.
Prime Minister. This puts an end to our press conference.